First of all, I'm so privileged and so honored that I get to have this conversation. And I think it's such a powerful opener for GC Now Summit. Phumzile. Ngingakubiza ngoma. Ngiyahlonipha mina ma.
Gogo.
Phumzile, women are at the focus of so many incredible conversations. But of course, the beginning question is, when will the buildings be built for the women's voices, for impact to actually be tangible? What are some of your thoughts in how women can be able to move the needle forward? But most importantly, what systems need to be built to allow those voices to thrive?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. In general, but I do want to probably jump to GBV in particular. Women need to be represented where any decision is taken about anything that affects them. That is, I think, the first crisis that we have, the crisis of underrepresentation, which removes the women's voices and the sharing of their lived experience. But when it comes to GBV, the inability to deal with this as the pandemic that it is. I think now we're a generation that has lived through a pandemic. We know how governments respond on something like that. Suddenly, we all lost our rights to travel. Borders were closed. We all had to wear a mask. And all of us knew the do's and the don'ts, and we had to stick with them. And this was something that was happening across the board. We haven't seen that as far as GBV is concerned. And yet, women die daily. Children die daily. So we really have to up the tempo. Nothing less will help. That's just my biggest anxiety right now. When are we upping the tempo?
We've got to up the tempo. How do we speak about the progression of women when women are dying?
Yeah.
How long can they live long enough to even dream of a future? Thank you for setting that tone and just reminding us that we've got to be able to start back to the basics and the foundations. And of course, somebody who knows all about the basics and the foundations of childhood. Sibu, you've spoken at length, you've written books as well about health, particularly when it comes to the HIV and AIDS epidemic. I'm wondering, as a person with the first-hand experience, having lost both your parents to the HIV and AIDS disease, what are some of the ways that you feel, particularly when it comes to youth, we are failing in this generation?
Wow, okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for that question, Nomzamo. You know, my story begins here in South Africa, though in Cape Town. And really, I think one of the things that as young people we need to kind of start wrapping our minds around is to remember that while I lost my parents at the height of the HIV epidemic in the late 90s, early 2000s, where life was kind of riddled with definitely people struggling to survive, finding the balance between thriving and those who just don't get the chance to decide. And finding myself pretty much where that is where my activism as a young person in the space began. And understanding that I live in an Africa where we are able to change the tide. We have proven time and time again when investments are made in young African people, we are able to not just be on the receiving end of health innovations and prevention and treatment. We need to be in the rooms where we are co-creating these because we have the lived experience. Very often I find myself having to argue with people that, oh no, I am an expert of my life and what happens in my communities because I deal with it firsthand. And this is where I think a lot of young people miss it, is that we are afraid to take up space and say, I have the right to co-create a health solution with you. Whether you're using AI or it's a new drug that's coming along, I need to be in the room when you're co-creating it because, nothing for us without us.
Let me put you on the spot right now. Yes, a round of applause, please. I'm going to put you on the spot. We've seen young people in the room being equal participants. What is the one success story that comes to mind that you love to share when it comes to young people on the continent who are coming up with innovative solutions?
So I'm currently a member of, besides being a Global Fund Health advocate as well as the Eighth Replenishment Advocate for the Global Fund, I sit on the board for the World Health Organization for postpartum hemorrhage. And our role there is talking about how many women lose their lives while giving life. And we are now sitting on a program where we are creating a drug or a treatment to help save the lives of women while they're giving life. Now, I am not on the receiving end of it. So I struggled with PPH. I gave birth, almost lost my life. And now, because of that, I get to be on the opposite end of end-to-end manufacturing, where I sit with the scientists. We are coming up with the solutions. I'm telling them how it's going to work, that, oh, no, this is not how you're going to distribute it. Oh, no, this is not going to get to Lusiki if you're going to do it this way. This is not meant for some women. It's meant for all women. It's not about women are hard to reach. It's the fact that you're hardly reaching them, and we're going to have to put and push the needle forward. So there are many other examples of young women who now find themselves not just on the receiving end, but on the creating end in Africa.
I see Gqi laughing there. What's that smile about, Gqi?
I love the flow.
I know, right? She's flowing. But of course, one of the central conversations, I suppose, today will be around energy, around scaling up renewable energy on the continent. And you would know all about that. And the presidency has also introduced Just Transition, which is a fantastic framework. What are some of the ways that you feel commitments can be made during Global Citizen Now, but during this pivotal time of the G20? You work a lot with young people, but also you work a lot with Africans who are coming up with innovative solutions. What are some of the commitments you hope will be made that can scale up these solutions?
Thank you very much, Nomzamo, and afternoon all, Her Excellency, Ma'am Yvonne. It's a complete honor and a privilege to share the stage, and I'm very happy to be the only male here. I think it's a reflection of
How did
the
it
time.
happen that you're sitting right in the middle?
My luck. But I think I'll respond to your question in two forms, right? When we're talking about commitments and we're talking about scaling up renewables, we have to realize and be aware that there's various stakeholders that need to play an instrumental and a critical role in scaling up renewables to ensure that renewable energy comes with inclusion, comes with prioritizing young people, but more importantly, comes with the energy security that is needed, right? Without energy security, without driving our own energy destiny, without shaping our own energy trajectory, we can't control our development trajectory, right? Energy is the foundation, the cornerstone. We can't talk healthcare, we can't talk education, we can't even talk the arts meaningfully and amplify the arts with no energy, right? So it's key that we understand the central role. And to go to the question you ask in terms of the commitments, right? We've got an exciting case study that South Africa Inc. has shown us, right? Over the last 16 years, the SA government has shown us what happens when you put rules, regulations that at the corner or the heart of them have inclusivity, have the continental and South Africa's national development goals embedded within them. And what am I meaning, right? So to ensure energy security, what the SA government did very well was ensuring that they embedded in the rules local participation, community participation, SA participation, alongside foreign participation, right? And underpinning that, is the emergence of entities like ourselves, Pele Green Energy. When we started, we were, I think the youngest founder was about 24 years old. 16 years later now, we sit on a portfolio of 4 gigawatts that's operating across Southern Africa with a few projects we're looking to look at up north. But what's critical for me to underscore here is that sovereigns have the ability to inform the type of agents and actors that will participate in their economy. When you have a power demand and a need that we have on the continent for 600 million people to be electrified, that's an incredible power that sovereigns have, right? And when you come out to procure power, it's essential that the rest of the continent mirrors what SA Inc. did, which is to prioritize local participation, youth participation, and community investment, right? When we speak to community investment at Pele Energy Group, we focus on not only providing electrons, but in ensuring that those electrons serve as the anchor asset with which we then reindustrialize the entire community. So we provide power in order to advance industries in local communities, in order to ensure social infrastructure is spread, and in order to invest in human development within those local communities.
The power of sovereignty and investing in local participation. Thank you for that, for just centering that conversation and bringing it back also to the communities. Because I've been hearing a lot of, you know, the G20, the B20, but what about the everyday person who lives and breathes the issues that we're currently facing? Mam Yvonne, you are a person who refuses to look away when it comes to injustice. You have been an incredible voice that continues to advocate for communities not only on the continent, but around the world that face different injustices. But of course, you are an incredible doyen of the industry, and we look up to you and this incredible legacy that you've been able to build. Some of the things when it comes to the entertainment industry, especially with cultural figures, has always been seen as a noble act, a small act. What are some of the ways that we can be able to hold leaders accountable in giving the entertainment industry the rightful platform and the rightful voice?
Thank you very much, Nomzamo, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you to the global citizens for making this happen. Give them a big round of applause. You know, the creative industry has always been frowned upon. You know, when I told my mother at the age of 19 that I wanted to sing, she said, "You must go to school, then you can go and play." Little did she know that I'd one day be sitting in a board meeting with Ban Ki-moon or with Bill Gates. So I say thank you to the people who came before us. In 1963, a woman who came from South Africa, Miriam Makeba, went to the where you used to work. No, where you were working, to the United Nations, where you were working, Phumzile, to go and talk about the atrocities that were happening in South Africa. So the people in the creative industry should not just be looked upon as entertainers or the forgotten uncle, a cousin. Today we talk about the Copyright Amendment Bill in South Africa. We're still talking about the bill of 1976 or 1978. Those times are gone. There is nothing that is good for people to abuse people's work. There's nothing good. Now, our intellectual property has to be looked upon as well. And now, the creative industry, we are able to bring crowds together. We're able to make sure that people are conscientized, whether it's with film or writing a book or singing. So we've done that. And so the power of the creative people is amazing, and it shouldn't be frowned upon or taken down, because people do not want a handout. Nothing is good than seeing people just being given. People want a hand up, not a handout. Now, how do we level the playing field for your everyday people? Today we are sitting here, somebody in the street who's selling at the corner, they probably don't even know. They're just worried that the streets are closed. So we don't have to leave anybody behind. So I've made sure that I go to those ordinary people because I am who I am, because they made me what I am. So we don't have to forget where we come from.
Never forget where we come from. Do not frown upon the entertainment industry. And I'm glad that you spoke about the legalities around the entertainment industry and what people are currently facing at the moment. Phumzile, you have been at the helm of government from a South Africa perspective, but also from a United Nations perspective. Policy is something that you have lived for a very long time. And I can only understand how hard it must be to take the language of policy and make it palatable and receivable for the everyday person who gets to be affected by these policies. What are some of the things that you hope will drive real, tangible delivery during this time? The G20, since its inception in 1999, is hosted on the continent right here in South Africa for the very first time. And so we don't want another big forum, big words, many conversations, no delivery. What must be done for real delivery and to be held accountable?
Well, maybe let me give you a concrete example, because I was a co-convener at G20, and the same issues arose. On Tuesday night, I literally held people in the room at night who were writing what we were resolving to do in very good but big English. And I was worried that because my constituency in G20 Social was NGOs and people from all walks of life. And I just said, people don't talk like this. They will not understand this has anything to do with them, and they will feel we are hiding something. So sit here, I felt like I was a mistress in a standard whatever. Let's revise this and write it in a manner that is understandable. Precisely your point, policy has to be understood by the people who are impacted by it. And, you know, thumbs up, they did it so beautiful. They threw away the big English because they thought maybe this is what was needed. G20, I said, these are just people that we are speaking to. Those people who will need a more sophisticated document, they will convert what we have said to our people first. And is it implementable? I think not everything that was said in the G20 is for implementation. Sometimes it's to frame the statement, to raise an alarm. But of course, in some areas, it is what is to be done. And then you put it in practical policy terms. So we, for instance, talk on adolescent and maternal and child health in a very clear way what we intend to do in that. Financial include, and it has an owner because it has organizations who will implement, who must be accountable, which was important also to me. Financial inclusion. Abantu bafuna imali yokwenza amabhizinisi amancane. That has to be said very clearly. Whose money, who is going to get it, and when are they going to get it? That we were able to put on paper. But my best one, and I'll end there, was the girls' initiative. Preventing GBV on girls, preventing infection, HIV and AIDS, and preventing child pregnancy. That articulated by girls themselves with such clarity and intent. That, for me, is the world we should be building. And we just meet them halfway.
Implementation with tangibility attached to it. Let us meet them halfway. And on that, I have been given many, many red lights to wrap this up. And I will, but as we convene for the rest of the day, I'd just like to say thank you so much, Mam Yvonne. Thank you so much, Mam Phumzile. Siyabonga Gqi, Siyabonga Sibu. Thank you so much for your insights. They are here, hopefully, for most of the day. So if you see them, please grab them. And as we listen to the many panels that we're going to be having today and incredible speakers, please, please, please make sure that you engage with us, but most importantly, think around this provocation that I'm about to leave you with. in the social contract, what part are you initialing and signing? Thank you.